They call gold and silver God's money. So if you're thinking of buying precious metals or switching your 401k to gold without a penalty, head on over to thegoldshow.com now. The link is in the description below.
Hello and welcome. Today we've got April Moss from CBS News, and we are going to be discussing critical race theory, the two doctor whistleblowers of COVID, and also the Kyle Rittenhouse case. Now, just before we begin, you can subscribe to our Telegram channels and to nicholasveniamin.com for my free email updates. And if you're watching this for the first time on YouTube, I will leave the link below in the description for the full interview, unless, of course, myself and April can decide to choose our words wisely, due to the insane censorship. April Moss, how are you and what have you been up to?
Nicholas, thanks so much for having me. So great to be back on your show. Been really covering a lot of things that are happening across America right now. And I just want to say too, I was formerly with CBS Detroit. Now I'm so happy to be an independent journalist. And I also am a correspondent for a brand new network called Real America's Voice. And that is a great place for another place for people to get news about what's happening in America.
Absolutely. Well, congratulations. That sounds amazing. And I want to get into the critical race theory that teachers are experiencing at schools. They're being instructed into teach and behave in a certain way, and they're not very happy.
Yeah.
And they're not really getting the right publicity so that we the people, are informed of this corruption. So could you please explain to us what's happening there?
Yeah. So what's going on is I'm getting contacted almost every day by another angry parent who is frustrated by the fact that they're finding out that the schools are indoctrinating the children in teaching them to be guilty of their race. So if you're white, they're being instructed and taught that that you're born with a white privilege, that they need to be sorry for their skin color and feel, shame about that. And it's a really dangerous type of situation that's happening in the schools today, because a lot of times when parents say, we don't like this teaching, we don't like critical race theory, the school boards come back and tell the parents, well, we don't teach critical race theory. They literally lie to the parents, but it's the wording. We would call it critical race theory. They call it diversity, equity, and inclusion. And they've hired diversity and equity and inclusion people within the school systems all across the country to implement social justice. And basically this idea that if you're white, then you are racist. And that, in fact, just this past week, and we'll be releasing this within the next couple of hours in the United States on Real America's Voice, there is a parent who sent me an image of a pyramid, just kind of how you would think of like the FDA food pyramid. But this pyramid has different labels of white supremacy. And they forced this teaching upon teachers at a professional development day, a day where the teachers just come to get professional development. And a woman who is head of the diversity and equity inclusion started to tell the teachers that anybody who is white is inherently a racist. And it made a lot of the teachers feel very uncomfortable. But the scary part about this, Nicholas, is that these teachers are afraid to even come forward because they're afraid they're going to lose their jobs or be labeled as a racist for saying that this is wrong. But the interesting thing about it is, as I've dove into the story a little bit more, talked to more people, this issue is important to people from all backgrounds. So I'm actually seeing Republicans, liberals and Democrats, conservatives, libertarians and religious and non-religious people come together on this issue and say, this isn't okay. This is actually a racist thing that they're doing and implementing within the school system. The hard part about it is, Nicholas, is that when parents come to these school boards, what I'm seeing again and again, and it doesn't matter what state you're in, from Michigan down to Florida, these school boards have already made up their mind of how they're going to act, and they're not listening to the parents. So the parents will come and express their concerns, and the school boards have nothing to say. They're just stonewall them, and there's no change. It's like they've already made up their minds. They've already been bought and paid for. I don't know what, honestly, I don't know what the issue is, but it's unfortunate because this is the problem we're seeing, is that in the public schools in the United States, across the country, there are school boards that don't care about what the parents have to say. And they don't think that parents should have the right to be able to know what's going on in the school while their child is gone for 6 hours a day.
So what happens if the parent decides that they want to take their children outside of that school and homeschool them or give them some, private teaching?
Yeah, a lot of parents are doing it, and it depends on what school district you're in. But some of the school districts, it's as easy as just saying, I'm disenrolling my child, I'm bringing them home. And that's all you need to do. For other school districts, it depends on where you're at and what your state laws are. But for a good majority of people, you can just notify the school and say, I'm taking them out. And a lot of parents are doing it. There's another group of parents that say, listen, we believe in public education. We know not everybody can private school or homeschool. So we're going to fight the good fight as much as we can and try to get this repealed or changed within our district. And so I applaud those parents for trying. And of course, we do have to put up that fight. But at the end of the day, I think every parent has to ask themselves, am I really going to put my child in this situation where they're going to be indoctrinated every single day to believe that somehow, because of their skin color, they've done something wrong or they've oppressed someone? And really, if we want to get down to the bottom of it, this is, this is what Marxists do. This is the type of communistic Marxist ideology that is infiltrating into the school, but it's just under a different name of social justice.
So what kind of a long-term psychological effect does it have when, racist teachers, racist school boards are, teaching teachers to subconsciously be racist by pointing out that these group of boys or girls or children are white and they have to be taught this? I mean, isn't that racist in itself?
It is exactly racist. And honestly, what's shocking about it is this isn't very different from the tactics that were used during World War II. If you think about it, they conditioned the public mind to think that Jews were unclean or dirty or somehow, were not worthy to go into certain stores anymore. What are we seeing today? We're seeing that same type of mentality between the vaccinated and the unvaccinated. It's just another tactic. It's the same thing. But again, if you're going to pit people, that's what they want to do. They want to pit people against one another. They want to put, white people against Black people. And, and honestly, here's the other thing about it too. If you are Black and you're being told that you're a victim over and over and over again, you might start to believe it. And the thing about it, in America, anybody can be successful. There are so many great nonprofit organizations within the inner cities where there's a huge population, of Black people. And there's great organizations to help them, to get out of poverty and things like that. There's so much more we can do, but there's already great programs here. Anybody in America, if you truly want to, can be successful. And just because of your skin color doesn't matter. You whether you're white or whether you're Black, you can be successful in America if you want to.
So what schools and states is the school board pushing this narrative now, for teachers
Pretty much
to be?
Most of them are. I haven't heard so much from the Midwest states, the states that are more out towards the West, but I guarantee you California, New York, Michigan, South Carolina, North Carolina, Florida, they're all trying to do it. And parents need to be very much on top of it. I'll add one more thing. one of the classes that was just added during 2020 when the kids were at home and it was virtual learning, they added a class called gender studies or gender something. I don't remember the rest of it. It was told to the parents that it was a history class. And when one mom decided to dig in a little bit more and say, well, wait a second, what exactly is this gender class? And what do you mean by it's a history class? They refused to give her the curriculum or tell her what it was about. And nobody will answer her phone calls. Nobody will tell her what the content of this class is. There's 3 teachers at the high school in the Rochester Public Schools district in Michigan that they're teaching the class, but nobody is telling the parent what this curriculum is about. That's also very concerning. Why doesn't the school want to be transparent with parents? And, parents have the right to know what their children are being taught.
For people like myself, yourself, and the viewers, we are fully aware how corrupt the system is, especially the education system as well, because it's an indoctrination machine. Now, for those people who are unaware, do you think that this could have a backlash in respect to those parents actually waking up to how corrupt the school system is in the long term?
Yeah, absolutely. Because the more and more that they see other parents that are concerned, these parents are putting up quite a fight. They're putting up, information all over social media. One person created a website to just document all of the corruption within that school district. The word is getting out amongst all the parents that, listen, we have a problem here. And I think that's what we're seeing, fortunately, is that it's going beyond party lines because we are very divided in America right now. A lot of people's tensions are very high between, because the media, unfortunately, has brought that division to people between vaxxed and unvaxxed, Republican versus Democrat. But this is an issue where no matter what side you stand on, people are uniting around. Absolutely.
I want to move on to the next topic, which is two doctor whistleblowers who came out with this COVID situation. If you'd like to give us a small presentation of what went on there.
Yes. Oh, I am just so grateful. This is what we've been needing, Nicholas, because we've had a lot of great, amazing doctors, and many of you know them by the America's Frontline Doctors who have come out and spoken about the truth behind COVID, about, remedies that would heal your body, where you wouldn't need to take that in the arm. And these doctors have been censored. But now for the first time, we have doctors that have been within the hospital system throughout the pandemic. So they saw the change from when hospitals were allowed to prescribe certain medicines that we know of that cure people. And then after the hospitals were told, you can no longer prescribe this for patients. And I want to share something with your audience. These doctors, we're going to be releasing this very special report within the next couple of days. So make sure people tune in to Real America's Voice, but also to my social media, because I'm going to be posting snippets and exactly when we're going to launch this. But the interesting thing is a study was done at Henry Ford Hospital in Michigan during the height of COVID. So early 2020, there were about 1,000 patients who had COVID who were given a certain drug that we know that also President Trump talked about. It starts with an H. They were given that drug to see its effectiveness. Every single one of those people lived. They didn't die, and their life was spared. That report from Henry Ford Hospital was published in July 2020. Effectively, Nicholas, this would have stopped the entire process because there would have been no need for a JAB, okay? Because this was something that would heal people. The FDA saw that report, and in August of 2020, 1 month later, commanded for all hospitals to stop being able to disseminate that drug. So in effect, the FDA is responsible for the deaths of all of these people who have died without getting effective life-saving treatments. And there were hospitals in Florida during the height of the pandemic that were prescribing people that specific drug. And those people did not even need to go into the hospital. The hospitals were empty. At the same time, those nurses down in the hospital in Florida who knew the effective treatments were watching what was happening on the TV in hospitals in New York, where we saw people being rolled out of the hospitals in, body bags and freezer trucks. I mean, in New York, there was such a fear factor there. What on earth is happening in that hospital? And there was a whistleblower doctor by the name of nurse named Nurse Erin. Are you familiar with her at all?
I've heard of her.
Yeah. So she ended up saying, well, I'll volunteer to go help out in that New York hospital because we're empty here in Florida. And they had the protocol, okay, that was life-saving. So she goes to the hospital in New York and she sees that they are not giving anyone the life-saving treatments. In fact, they're taking the COVID patients, putting them in the hospital rooms and putting extensions onto the IV bags so that the line was so long that it would go out the door, and they would close the door and have the IV bag to the patient outside of the patient's room. So the nurses would never have to go in and check on the patients. That's what she witnessed in the New York hospitals. And that tactic is what caused so many people to die because they were denied treatment and they were just left there and put on ventilators. And that same tactic began to happen in our American hospitals in Florida just in this last year. And Nurse Erin is somebody who has been advocating and saying we've had the life-saving treatments, but when the FDA came down and said you're no longer allowed to give this to people, that's when we started to see people dying and being put on ventilators. So it's quite tragic, Nicholas, that this is the state of where things are. But my special with these two amazing doctors, they also talk about how the Marxist ideology was infiltrating their hospital system. And even in the daily newsletters that the doctors would receive from the hospital would be telling them about climate change. And the doctor said, what do we need to know about climate change? How does that have to do anything to do with medicine? Why is this in our morning newsletters? But this is the type of brainwashing and type of methodology that Henry Ford Health System was doing against its employees, and still to this day is doing.
Do you think that eventually this information will come out and to be, worldwidely known that there was no reason for us to follow this process that we've been through in the last 2 years?
Yes. Yeah, I do. Because, even just lately, I've noticed on a couple of the mainstream media outlets, and I really don't tune into them as much as I probably should to see what are they saying. But I do know this, that they finally started to report about Dr. Anthony Fauci and his gain of function research, because it was so out in the open. Everybody knew about it. And CNN finally did a story on it, but we need much more, exposure in mainstream media, and it's interesting, too, that there are some mainstream media outlets that are beginning to kind of just put a little bit of information out there for people that is truthful. And I wonder if it's because they notice nobody watches them anymore and they've lost their credibility.
Do you want to tell us who those people are?
Yeah, the ones that are starting to leak out the info.
Please.
I believe, the BBC and CNN just a little bit. But also, we still have major issues in this country with the media not reporting the truth. And I'll give you an example. A case that has been widely watched just in the last couple of days is a case on a boy, actually, he's only 18, by the name of Kyle Rittenhouse. And this is a household name in America right now because he was only 17 last summer when he was in Kenosha, Wisconsin, and there were a lot of riots going on at the time in the city. Now, they had defunded their police, so police presence wasn't as good as it should have been. And what happened was Kyle Rittenhouse was walking in the city, trying to protect the businesses from being looted and burnt. Now, what happened was in America, there were a lot of felons that were released from prison during COVID because the jails said we have to release them because there's COVID in our prison. They released these prisoners, and they were part of a lot of the mobs, and a lot of the people that were getting arrested from the looting and rioting were repeat offenders. They're people who had been in jail before. Now, Kyle Rittenhouse, in self-defense, ended up shooting and killing 2 white males and injuring a third. So 3 people injured, 2 of them died. In the media, they made people believe that the people that Kyle killed were Black. In fact, they reported on the story in such a way that it got everybody's emotions up. And so people believed that it wasn't right for, it's not right for people to have gun rights. And this is the whole plan, by the way. If you notice, America is the last country that has, our Second Amendment, our gun rights that are we have them fully. Now, they're trying to take that away from us. And one of the tactics they use is, over exaggerating certain stories in the media and perpetuating people who are using their guns in self-defense as if they are vile criminals. And so this trial was publicized just in the last couple of days in America. People watched it, and those that normally watch mainstream media and believed that Kyle could have been guilty, that maybe he killed some Black people. In fact, they found out, no, he actually killed white people, and these were criminals as well. And people were starting to comment online and saying, you know what, I had no idea this was the truth of the matter because the media told a completely different story. So I will say, I think this case is helping to open the eyes of those people who still believed mainstream media. And again, it goes to show that the work of independent journalists that bring forth truth and facts and get the word out of the truth of the matter, we are making a huge difference. I mean, it's really, really, I'm seeing a lot of people commenting on how much they know. And I know it's not because they're hearing it from mainstream media. They're hearing it from independent journalists.
Absolutely. April Moss, thank you very much. Is there anything else that you'd like to say to the viewers before we finish?
Yes, thanks, Nicholas, for having me. One last thing, one of the things I'm passionate about, a lot of people are contacting me about, is how to homeschool their children if they're unhappy with their children being in the public school system, but they're kind of scared of the idea of home education. They're not really sure if they could do it or not. I'm holding regular webinars, which you can sign up for on my website. It's www.aprilmosstv.com. And I'm also hosting a 2-day event, a special event in Tulsa, Oklahoma, in just the next couple of weeks. And if you want more information on how you can watch that, we're going to be live streaming that as well. You can contact me, go to my website and fill out the contact form. I'll make sure you have all the information you need to be able to get information on curriculum, how to schedule your day, how to homeschool, even if you are working as well, because I've always worked part-time and I've still been able to homeschool my 4 boys. So I'll give all the parents the resources that they need. They just need to get in touch with me on my website.
Absolutely. I'd love to put the link below if anyone wants to contact you and ask you questions about this program.
Yes.
April Moss, thank you very much. And we'll speak again very soon. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Nicholas. Take care.